Welcome to the show, Ari, and I'm going to bring you up on my real quick. Hey, Ari, how are you?
Hey, it's great to be back on the program, and I'm very excited for today's episode today. It should be a lot of fun.
And we got Walid Shoebat, the reformed Palestinian terrorist, who will introduce himself. He is now a converted Christian. Walid, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to put into perspective, I'm going to go right into it rather than go through the niceties of what's going on in Europe with the slaughter of the Jewish people. There was a bar mitzvah going, which is a rite of transformation for every Jewish boy when they hit the age of 13, and how they were literally trying to get in and gun everybody down. And basically a volunteer synagogue or shul security person actually prevented a massacre.
It just goes in the news as a few people were killed, a volunteer police officer and some policemen, but this thing could have been gigantic. You're talking about if these people that sacrificed their lives, these terrorists would have gone in to the synagogue and killed who knows how many people. I mean, so they did an amazing sacrifice. And one thing, I had a guest to talk with, Jane Keel, who's Danish. And Copenhagen, Denmark had this 40,000 people march. So a lot of people might be confused and say, oh, they're against this Jewish person being killed and this Jewish attack. Part of the reason they did that is because there was a celebrity involved who was killed and non-Jewish police were killed. And if it was just one Jewish person, I don't know if they would have had the 40,000 march. That was at least the opinion of Jane. It was a very strange situation because the Prime Minister of Denmark came out and asked the Jews not to leave Denmark, even though there's a lot of Zionists who say, no, it's time to go. And the same thing happened with France. The Prime Minister of France said that if the Jews leave France, France is going to end. And even though Bibi called for French Jews to leave. So there might be people in the country of Denmark, even moderate Muslims, that are stand up for the Jews. But, this person, Jane Keel, came on my show, and you can see the interview on my YouTube channel, Messiah Hour. She seems to think the Jews in Denmark need to leave, and the writing's on the wall and the time's up.
I mean, as far as the Copenhagen attack, we know that this guy, his code name was Abu Ramadan al-Muhajir, and we know what that symbolizes. In other words, this guy speaks Arabic, fluent Arabic. He's been to Jordan for 3 years. And Jordan is a hub of the Muslim Brotherhood, and there's a hub of pro-ISIS in Jordan, and he's Palestinian. And he went to jail. They say, well, he's radicalized in prison and so on and so forth. I don't ever believe this notion of there's a point of radicalization in the Muslim society. Either you come from a society that is predominantly radical, or you don't. And he had a special hatred for Jews. In fact, even his Facebook, he had called for burning the flag of Palestine. Can you imagine? Here's a Palestinian who wants to burn the flag of Palestine. Why is that? Well, he believes in a utopian ideology, that is ISIS. He gave allegiance to ISIS, what they call in Arabic bay'ah. Bay'ah is to give allegiance, and he, by lifting what they call the sababa, the index finger, and declaring there is no God but Allah, He's one, sort of like the Muslim Shema, if you will. And you give allegiance to ISIS, whether he was trained or had been recruited by ISIS while he was in Jordan or by jihadis. That's very likely. But, he is an ISIS terrorist. In fact, I looked at tweets from ISIS, and they have mentioned him and praised him and everything else. So this is the typical of the Charlie Hebdo. It's ISIS. In fact, when Charlie Hebdo first came out, they were saying it's affiliate of Al-Qaeda and so on and so forth, and I was proving that the whole time that those affiliates have become pro-ISIS. In fact, many here in the West, when they think of ISIS, they think of, Syria and Iraq. It is a fraction from Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula by Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, and then from him stemmed ISIS. Well, while that's true, it doesn't give the full picture. In fact, for months, I've been saying this. Say, hey, we're not only fighting ISIS in Iraq. You have other organizations that gave this bay'ah, allegiance, if you will, to ISIS. You have the Jund al-Khilafa, soldiers of the Caliphate in North Africa. In fact, I stated that before we had the fiasco in Libya, between Libya and Egypt, with the 21 Copts. You have Ansar al-Sharia in Libya gave allegiance to ISIS. You have Taliban of Pakistan giving allegiance to ISIS. You have the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, that's in Pakistan's North Waziristan, giving allegiance to ISIS in al-Baghdadi. You have a Tawheed battalion, that's Pakistan, Afghanistan region, giving allegiance to ISIS. This is not Syria and Iraq. Al-Nusra in Lebanon have given allegiance and backed off and most likely will be giving allegiance in the future. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which ISIS stems from, and in Yemen gave allegiance to ISIS. And you have Ansar al-Tawheed, the land of Hind in India, and Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis in the Sinai, and Jund al-Khilafa in Egypt. Hello, this covers a massive land and states and nations from Pakistan to India to North Africa to Egypt, at the borders of close to Israel in the Sinai. And now Egypt is surrounded on both sides, from the Libyan side as well from the Sinai side, with support, of course, of the Muslim Brotherhood. You have Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis. Hello, what does that mean? The aiders of the holy mountain. Which mountain? The Holy Jerusalem, which is the Temple Mount, which is Bayt al-Maqdis in the Muslim mindset. This is something that is honed in the Bayt al-Maqdis, the holy hill for the Jews. That's what they're focused on. And then the Sinai. And they were been aided and helped by the Muslim Brotherhood, and Sisi struggling with them. I guess now Sisi understands what Israel struggled with. I guess Bashar al-Assad now understands what Israel is struggling with. I don't think they want to qualm with Israel at this point. In fact, they're getting a little closer together, including even Saudi Arabia is kind of hint to Israel here every now and then, and as well as Jordan is getting aid from Israel because, hey, we have a common enemy now, and that is an entire system that wants to remove secularism. This is why this guy in Copenhagen wants to burn the Palestinian flag, because the idea is the removal of any secular society, any secular border or nationalistic borders have to be removed. And the idea is in one Islamic ummah, the nation of Islam. This is not the nation of Islam, USA. This is the nation of Islam globally, which is the map of the Islamic caliphate that ISIS has drawn in black, which includes so much as the Ottoman Empire. Now, they're looking towards Rome even, the guy standing there beheading 21 Copts and saying, hey, with his knife, Rome, you're next, and all their paraphernalia and their videos, they show a lot of Rome stuff. They want to go to Europe. Why? Well, because Muhammad says first Constantinople, then Rome. This is not just a war on Israel here. Of course, it's going to be honed in and focused on Israel in the future to gain momentum for ISIS. Israel's turn is coming. Stopping ISIS takes a master plan. But the problem is that we don't have the right policymakers. We don't have the right U.S. government. We have Obama in government. And the way to stop this ISIS thing is really, it is a problem of the Wahhabis. I mean, ISIS is Wahhabist, just as Saudi Arabia. It's Wahhabi and Muslim Brotherhood. Now, is the United States declaring the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization? No. Egypt, declared it as a terrorist organization. Muslim Brotherhood is parked in Turkey with their media called Rabia, and they're fomenting the violence from Turkey. Turkey is an intricate part of the game plan for ISIS, and Obama administration is cooperating right with it. So that's the problem. But the solution to the problem is not that hard. I mean, you have Kurdish girls defeating ISIS in Kobani. So ISIS is not this invincible
women.
entity.
You got women literally taking them out. I mean, come on.
Right.
They were ragtag. They were a bunch of ragtags.
ISIS out. Yes, Israelis can take out ISIS in no time.
The minute they cross into Jordan, Israel and Jordan have a mutual defense pact now.
Right. It's bringing Jordan and Israel closer. Although you're not allowed to go to the Temple Mount because Jordan says no.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't say Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. I will be arrested by my own Magav if I do that.
Yeah, you know, but
well,
you as a Jew have to suffer the most to eliminate ISIS. So this is the status quo, you know.
Well, we have a
Obama
solution
watches
to that problem. We have a solution to it, but nobody wants to hear it. I mean, we have 5 attack subs, you know, somewhere off different Arab coasts, you know, and we could rain death on any Arab nation we choose, and very quickly.
I mean, that's correct. That's what's going to ultimately happen. But
here's my question for you guys. President Obama, I believe it was last week, he referred to the terror attack at the kosher market in France as random. They kept calling the people folks who were murdered instead of calling them Jews. Does he really believe that's a random attack? Well, why would he say that?
Well, he says that because he's more sympathetic to Islam. That's why he says that. You know, he speaks like a Yasser Arafat, no difference. You know, he speaks like a radical. And so, from Obama's perspective, you know, I say he's very much keen to supporting Islam, Sunni Islam, because that's his heritage. In fact, you know, he claimed to have been a convert to Christianity, but I haven't seen the testimony yet. If you find it, I'll buy it, but I haven't heard it. But you know, this guy is really an Islamist.
Get this: you lived, you know, Israelis. Bibi Netanyahu was speaking before the U.S. Congress. The legislative branch of the U.S. government on the 13th of Adar.
Yeah, in fact, Netanyahu himself is saying that there is definitely a rift between him and Obama, and it's pretty clear why the rift is. But he doesn't.
But what happened on? I mean, he's you know, Bibi has become the new, basically a Queen Esther, almost.
Well, yeah, as I said, you know, it's the Jew that has to suffer to clean ISIS in the future. That's what's going to happen. Because ISIS is going to expand. It's not going to stop. You know, and look at Jordan. They have a great policy. They released al-Maqdisi. Okay, when they release a terrorist, it's different than when Israel releases terrorists or when the U.S. releases 5 from Gitmo. They released al-Maqdisi to cause divisiveness amongst ISIS. And so al-Maqdisi had to come out and call ISIS a bunch of liars, and he condemned ISIS. Okay, you get to get out of prison. We'll arrest you later. And so they have a policy. Jordan, you know, is keen, and it has a problem. It has a bigger problem than Israel proper when it comes to the, you know, infiltration of Muslim Brotherhood ideologues. In fact, I have family members of Muslim Brotherhood ideologues who want to basically take out and get rid of the King Abdullah II. And this is why we have to keep those people in their position. Even Abu Mazen, as bad as you think he is, he's much better than you have Hamas. And so, you know, you've got to work with the lesser of the two evils in every situation. You have in Egypt, you have a Sisi who's hitting ISIS in Libya. But again, he's going to be weakened because the Muslim Brotherhood is currently parked in Turkey and has a plan of a comeback. And so the idea is to weaken Egypt, weaken all the nations that surrounds Israel is currently going to get weakened. Syria, Jordan, Egypt. Well, how's that going to bode for Israel if and when Egypt falls, or if and when King Abdullah II falls, or if and when even Bashar al-Assad falls, as bad as Bashar al-Assad is to Israel.
And
he's
believe
not
it,
as bad as the other guys.
I agree, and that's the United States has to, at some point in time, defend King Hussein of Jordan and defend his kingdom. He's one of the most moderate men I ever met.
Right, but you need to understand the mindset of Obama. You know, if you look at Obama's policies, they go right in line with Erdogan of Turkey's policies. Erdogan has a utopian ideology. He believes himself as to be Selim I. I don't know if you know much about Ottoman history. Selim
I do not.
I. Okay, I'll give you a little hint here. Selim I, he defeated Qansu al-Ghuri in Egypt, and he occupied Syria and Egypt. So, in the Ottoman dream, to revive his Ottoman utopian ideology, the sick man of Europe, if you will, and to reverse Sykes-Picot, which divided the Ottoman Empire into pieces that we see today. If you ask an ISIS, what does he want? He wants the reversal of Sykes-Picot, which was done by the French, the English, and the Russians. And so this is the dream. This is the goal. Davutoglu makes it very clear. I have several articles on this issue, in that he wants to reverse Sykes-Picot. Now, Obama and Erdogan both are anti-who? Bashar al-Assad and al-Sisi. Both of them. at the same policies are really paralleling each other perfectly in their anti-Egypt, anti-Syria. Now, he can't do anything about Jordan because he had a burning of Ma'ad al-Kasasbeh, in which it's really a horrific incident in which you can't be anti-Jordan as a U.S. policy. But he had his chance. He'd weaken Jordan as well. He doesn't care. And so Obama really is going right in line with the support for a neo-Ottoman dream. In fact, the neo-Ottoman dream, 20 years ago, I talked about it. 20 years ago, I wrote a book about it. I said this is going to be the ultimate plan of the Islamists, to establish a neo-Ottoman scheme. And in this scheme, it needs the support of what they call the Muslim scholars, the ulama. Well, who runs that? The Muslim Brotherhood. ISIS is not gaining momentum with the Muslim scholarly world, and that's what weakens ISIS to basically, gain the support of all Muslims globally. However, if and when ISIS strikes Israel, that will change. However, if and when this mini caliphate of al-Baghdadi falls or is replaced, you have a grand caliphate, which was planned to stem from Istanbul, Turkey, which the spiritual head of the Muslim Brotherhood, Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi from Istanbul, August last year, says that the caliphate must be established from Istanbul, Turkey. That's where it was hit. That's where it was dismantled. So I remember 20 years ago, I said Turkey is going to become an enemy of Israel. I remember a friend of mine named Shalom Eliyahu. He says, you're crazy. 20 years ago, Turkey was an ally of Israel. And then you had the flotilla, and then you had Shimon Peres, who used to say that Turkey is the grand example of moderate Muslim nation. Turkey, 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 Turkey. And I was laughing.
It was past tense. Past tense.
Yes, and I was laughing as I was watching him in C-SPAN years ago because I knew what's going to happen. And now no one can argue that the West has really evolved Turkey in what it is. And ISIS and its workings with Turkey, the border control, is very open for ISIS. The recruitment, the training in Gaziantep and other cities in Turkey for ISIS. The collaboration of the top birds of Turkey in that leaked recording in which they plan to hit Kasab, the Armenians, and to have ISIS attack tomb of Suleiman Shah, but that leaked, so they had to kind of cancel that plan in which they wanted an incursion into Syria. So there's been a plan by Turkey to enter Syria. They want to enter into Egypt. Eventually, that's what's going to happen. If we don't do anything about helping Sisi in Egypt, which is what's going to happen, from the Libyan side, from the Sinai Peninsula, they're going to create so much terrorism, threaten the Suez Canal, all kinds of things, weaken Egypt to a point that the Muslim Brotherhood will cause a revolution, will have a comeback into Egypt. And that will be a huge disaster for the state of Israel.
What is the master plan of the Muslim Brotherhood at this point? And how does that fit into the BDS, the Boycott, Divest, and Sanction movement?
I know the Muslim Brotherhood, the two main hubs of the Muslim Brotherhood is in Egypt and in Syria. In other words, every time the U.S. in fact has a plan of training 1,200 Free Syrian fighters, Free Syrian Army, whatever you want to call them. And so 1/4 to 1/3 of the fighting force that wants to thwart Bashar al-Assad are Muslim Brotherhood. If you recall historically, in the early 80s, I believe, it was Hafez al-Assad, the father of Bashar al-Assad, who basically destroyed the massacre of Hama, destroyed Hama, and killed estimates between 10,000 and 40,000 Muslim Brotherhood. So what you have, in essence, a revolution of Muslim Brotherhood in Syria, and Obama is supporting it. And you have a Muslim Brotherhood revolution in Egypt, and of course Obama supports it. And both Erdogan and Obama support both of them. And so, the American populace does not understand the history, does not understand Muslim Brotherhood, and thinks that, the idea is to remove all the dictators in the Middle East. If you remove all the dictators in the Middle East, look what happened in Iraq. Iraq alone should tell us what happened. Libya.
Well, Bush, that was Iraq's invasion by the United States, in my opinion, was guided by Bush's W's desire for revenge.
All right, that concludes part one of our interview with Walid Shoebat. This is a Prophecy here on Israel National Radio Root Sheva. The show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Lewis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. And of course, you can email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions of different show topics or different people you'd like me to interview, email me there, messiahhour@gmail.com. And if you'd like to make a financial contribution to the program, you can do so through my PayPal account. That's israelsportsradio@yahoo.com. We'll have more on the other side with Walid Shoebat, former PLO terrorist, now a supporter of Israel, on the other side of this break. Before we go to commercial break, we're going to play some music from Danny Lewis. Danny Lewis is a guitar player and artist here in Jerusalem, and you can find his music by Googling him. His name is Danny Lewis, D-A-N-N-Y, then L-O-U-I-S. And you can find him on Bandcamp as well. So take it away, Danny.